Today on Locked On Rockies, the quest for 42 wins continues as the Rockies couldn't stop handing out free passes to the Miami Marlins in Game 2 of their series.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 18th day of September. That is just, I know it's random. I know it's total kind of just wackadoodle, water cooler talk, but the 18th day of September already, pretty crazy there. But this is your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And you can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. And the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section is part of the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. That's where you can be part of the show by firing off your Rockies hot takes, letting me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies, just like so many of you do here. And I want to revisit a comment here we got from Randy on the show. And a thing that kind of stuck out to me on the broadcast as the Rockies drop another game to the Marlins here. We'll dive into the reaction to the game, of course. And I wanted to bring up something here as we mentioned some of the differences. The differences of these two teams, the Marlins and the Rockies, and if you would be more willing to take on the Marlins approach to the game versus the Rockies approach, and I should say game meaning team building, meaning front office, meaning those decisions, not necessarily like, oh, we're going to go all in on offense, or we believe this type of player profiles really well for our team. More of the organizational philosophy of the team. Before we dive into all the fun today, got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And let's start with the fact that this was a just boiling it down to it, this is a frustrating loss for the Rockies. This was a loss for the Rockies in which, again, you kind of felt like they had a chance. You saw some moments. The team jumps out to an early lead. They're able to they fall behind. They tie it back up. But then the offense goes cold there, and then they're unable to be successful with runners in scoring position here, going 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And, shout outs to Mickey Moniak, who comes in and blasts another home run there. I believe his fourth in his last 3 games now, as he continues a red-hot finish to the season. But the big frustrating part here, of course, the offense being part of that. 4 runs, 11 hits. That's just not really how it should be at Coors Field. You should be able to cash in kind of like the Marlins did here, scoring in 4 straight innings from the sixth on, and scoring in 6 out of the 9 innings in this ball game, putting up 12 hits in that time. The Marlins are just kind of showing like they don't strike out a lot, right? This was something where I saw this on the broadcast. They strike out in like the 20 percentile range, and I wonder if I can find this real quick. Strikeout percent, but they don't strike out a ton. They put the ball in play. They also generated walks here, and the Rockies are averaging now, this is according to StatMuse here, 9.5 strikeouts a game this year. 9.5 strikeouts a game, and the Marlins were bottom 5, and I can't remember if the broadcast was saying just in the National League or in all of baseball. I believe it was all of baseball, but grain of salt there just in case, as I can't remember 100%. But the Marlins are not striking out a lot. The Marlins are, and the biggest issue in this game, the walks. The Marlins were drawing walks in this game, and then they were getting timely hitting, including home runs. It's put the ball in play. Good things happen, and that has benefited the Marlins greatly in this series here. And it kind of provides a way or a look. That's what the Rockies offense should look like there. The ability to be able to drive in these runs. They were 5, and it could have gotten a lot worse for the Rockies in situations too. The Marlins were only 5 for 14 with runners in scoring position in this ball game here. Plain and simple, you can't walk 8 batters, technically 9 when you're talking about factoring in a hit for pitch. That is just flat out unacceptable. No matter your level, no matter your experience, this is the thing that is frustrating. As to allude to my philosophy type point of, the Rockies have a lot of homegrown talent on their team right now. The Rockies have a lot of guys that they've drafted, that they've gone after, that they have tried to develop. Yet in these situations, in a team again, and this is the Marlins, mind you, this is not the division. This is not a playoff team. This is not the great teams that the Rockies have seen before. They're unable to control their pitches. They're unable to control the zone. They're unable to keep the ball in the strike zone, and they walk 9 batters. 9 batters. That's just, again, when we're talking about the standard, when we're talking about the expectation, when we're talking about helping pitchers get better, this isn't it. The Rockies continue to plummet on the pitching stuff. And again, young guys. Yes, absolutely. I understand that. When you're looking at the names that were here, they're all younger pitchers. We're still talking about 4 walks from the starter, 2 walks in an inning from Ryan Rollison, Jaden Hill letting in walking a batter, and Angel Shavi'i walking in a batter, 8 walks and a hit by a pitch. That's a lack of execution, man. That's a lack of control. That's a lack of getting the job done. You gave the Marlins 9 more passes on 12 hits. So if you factor that in, that's 21, hits plus walk combo, whatever, I'm sure there's probably a term for that. And the Rockies got 3 walks, but 14 to 21, a huge difference there. That's unacceptable. That can't happen at Coors Field. That's how you lose. That's how you fall behind. That's how you blow leads. And yes, it was good to see some parts of the offense, but the offense falling flat there and not able to execute with the runners in scoring position is unacceptable as well, especially when you're talking about, for the Rockies' sake, it was only a 5 strikeout day. 3 hits from Hunter Goodman, but no RBI. Jordan Beck getting a nice RBI there. But still, you got to execute. This was a game that the Rockies did not execute. They came close, but it takes more than that. This was a game that you had the driver's seat, you had the momentum, but you give it right back, as they've done time and time again. Every time the Rockies have even opened up a lead, they've never been able to establish it, and they haven't been able to build on it here. I again implore the Rockies organization here to look at and really factor in, do we have the right people in place to get these pitchers, to get these guys, to get this team to the next level? The Rockies team ERA is 6. That is 0.7 worse than the Nationals. And then the Angels at 4.86 team ERA. The Rockies have allowed 878 earned runs as a pitching staff this year. They have allowed 230 home runs. These are the stats that they are the worst in baseball at. They have allowed 1,580 hits, nearly 200 more hits than the Nationals, who are below them at 29th. Luckily, I mean, and surprisingly enough, in here, only 516. So finally, not a stat that they're the worst team at here. But the problem that we've seen with the Rockies is they can go into these extremes. 8 walks plus a hit batter. That just is unacceptable. It flat out can't happen. And there needs to be accountability because command and issues with the pitching staff have been a problem throughout the season and has been a problem throughout this downward trend of Rockies baseball. All right, I want to bring up something here that I saw from, or that I heard on a broadcast. And it relates to something I was talking about on the podcast yesterday. And I want to bring up a YouTube comment here to just kind of keep this conversation of like Rockies versus Marlins approach. How would you feel about it? Let's dive into that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy. Shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. You're going to see how portable they are. They got the big taste in a tiny shot. I've used 5-Hour Energy to get me through many a road trip. You can take it anywhere and get that boost whenever you need it. You can find your favorite flavor, and it's going to be refreshing and give you that quick lift before a busy day. And like I said, keeps you going when you need it on those long road trips, those long days when you need the quick, simple boost. Crack it open, down the hatch, easy energy and vitamins. You're not gonna have to worry about crashing later either. Enough with boring flavorless caffeine. It is time to get your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com. That's 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Locked On Rockies here, back with you for segment number 2 of today's episode. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. And yesterday on the show, I was talking about how do you feel about the Marlins approach? How do you feel about the fact that the Marlins, move on from a lot of players, make a lot of trades, don't do a lot of big long-term contracts, kind of don't build up a lot of kind of that loyalty that the Rockies have? And this is what Randy says here. Your question about the Marlins approach is a fair one. My initial thought was yes, because I'm fatigued by multiple 100-loss seasons. Another thought was their turnstile approach is a mirror of society, and that long-term legacy players tend to be on legacy-type teams. There is a lot to be said when comparing the Marlin approach versus the Rockies approach. Personally, would I be invested in a player to buy their jersey? No. Would I be invested in a team that got success the Marlin way? I have 2 Rockies jerseys, and we have half the wins. So yes, Paul, you always have a good take. I don't know about that, Randy. I have had some bad takes along the way, as I am just but a humble Rockies fan like you all. Go Rapids! You always like to throw in some go Colorado team there, but go Rapids! First time that I think we've gotten some shout outs to the Rapids here. I wanted to read a comment here from Jim as well before I go into what I heard from the broadcast. Funny thing about the Rockies, some days they have great pitching and other days not so much. But if the batting really starts kicking in next year, they can end up being a monster of a hitting team. I can't say I'm not surprised at how the 2025 season has gone, but I really hope that the hitting gets rolling in 2026. I still say that Monfort needs to talk to the media and tell us what will change next year and stop being so quiet. Good owners and good managers talk about their struggles and don't avoid the press. It's like a marriage. You take the good with the bad. Hey, at least Warren Schaefer's talking. At least the team's talking. Dick Monfort, notorious now for ducking and has been pretty much hidden throughout most of this time here. Just wanted to, dive into our Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section here. But I wanted to go back to Randy's thing here about would you be happy with the way the Marlins approach things? So they're talking about the active rosters here on the broadcast. And so the Marlins right now, on their roster, they have 17 players on the roster via the trade. So not drafted, not developed in their system. They have 9 homegrown talents on their team. The Rockies, on the other hand, have 27 homegrown players on the roster and 6 via the trade. And I think my biggest problem here, it's not the fact that the Rockies have a bunch of their own players that they've drafted and developed and have convinced themselves that they're great. Because let's be honest, folks. Has any player on the Rockies this year blown your socks off? And again, Hunter Goodman could be an example. Mickey Moniak could be an example. But I'm being serious here. Is there anyone on the Rockies and Tovar, Doyle, Goodman, and offensively Moniak, but there are still questions there. But like, do you think that the talent that the Rockies have developed, the talent that the Rockies have put out, the talent, the guys that they've scouted, the team that they've created, do you believe that they are of the same quality as some of the other top level players in the league? Do you believe that the Rockies' approach to building and doubling and what feels like tripling down on their own homegrown prospects, their own philosophy, their own approach, do you believe that has allowed them to become a better baseball team? My answer is no. My answer is you're just kind of feeding into your own, I don't know the right words maybe, but feeding into your own narrative. Oh no, these guys are it. These guys are the guys. We have to buy in. These are the guys that are going to turn things around. We know we're going to turn this guy into something. This guy's going to turn into something great. Just wait. Just be patient. Just wait. Just be patient. This is going to happen. Our guys draft and develop. Draft and develop. Just wait. Be patient. And to kind of see the staggering difference in those numbers again here, I just want to read the numbers one more time. 27 Rockies players, homegrown Rockies players on the roster, 6 via the trade. The Marlins have 9 homegrown players on their roster, 17 players on their roster via the trade. And again, the Marlins have not been a consistent team of success, and they're not someone to be looking at and necessarily be totally envious of and say, oh, we got to be like the Marlins. We got to do what the Marlins do. We got to follow the Marlins approach. But isn't it interesting that the Marlins have decided instead of, and it could be attendance, it could be their financials, there could be a million other things that go into this. But for it to be that kind of different, and a reminder, the Marlins, if they finish strong to finish the season, could finish at or basically around 500. So not horrendous, not nearly as bad of a team that people thought they were going to be. But shouldn't that kind of be a signal for the Rockies? Shouldn't that be a sign that it's like, is there any, I would love to know. And again, I got this idea from just the broadcast, that not really time to invest in and figure out about how this looks across the league. But if the Rockies are tied for the youngest team in baseball, I'd have to imagine they are at the top of the list when it comes to the amount of homegrown prospects that they've had make debuts or guys that they've drafted get playing time and things like that. I just think it's pretty interesting as we look at the fact that the Marlins have won it all. The Marlins have more playoff appearances. They don't have the as many legacy guys. They don't have as many guys of jerseys that you'll see out there. You'll have Randy hesitating to buy a jersey of a player of somebody on the team. But when you look at the Marlins, they at least say, okay, this isn't working. Where we're at now, we have to make the adjustment. Let's move on and do. Let's trade. Let's try something else. Let's bring in new guys here. Let's not overcommit here. So while the Marlins are playing 17 players on their roster via the trade, Just think about the Rockies in their current contract situations. Just think about the recent trades that the Rockies have made. And again, some of them on the lower level and more successful, certainly. But only for the Rockies to have 3 straight 100 loss seasons, 7 straight losing seasons, for your roster to only have 6 players on it that have come from trades, that's a problem. Why is that a problem? It's because that means you have been inactive at the trade deadline. That means you have not moved valuable things that don't help you win now, that haven't helped you win now, that haven't helped your team, that haven't changed the narrative, that haven't led to a winning season. You haven't been able to be decisive to move on from them and properly value those players to help you put you in a position to be more successful. And you can't sit here and say that the Marlins were not more successful this year than what the projections were. And it's still not a playoff berth. It's not anything big. It's a season when you don't make the playoffs, so does it really matter? Of course it doesn't. But it's still a team that has decided to make moves. It's still a team that has looked itself in the mirror and says, it's time to punt. It's time to move on. It's time to do something differently. Instead of a team that is doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on its own self, on its own philosophy, and on its own approach. I'm envious of the Marlins here in the sense of at least they're trying something instead of telling us that they are a draft and develop team and they're able to do these things, and the proof is not in the pudding. With how many players the Rockies have that are homegrown talent, if this team is a successful draft and develop team, we should be seeing more from this team. We should be seeing more from some of these guys. And I know that there hasn't been a lot of experience for some of these guys, but what about Michael Toglia? And there's other examples too, but what about the pitching staff? What about this? What about that? There's plenty of things to point to here as part of the problem. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if I'm out of line. Let me know if you're saying, why on earth would you want to do anything that the Marlins do? I totally understand why you might be coming from there. But the question will also be, why would you want to keep doing what you're doing if you're the Colorado Rockies? Let's put a bow on this and see what the Rockies are looking at in the finale against the Marlins coming up next. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. That's code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off a financial tool, getting you on track, getting you more organized. What's not to love? That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. The Rockies continue their quest to not be the worst team in baseball history as they face the Marlins in a day game tomorrow. Sandy Alcantara against Tanner Gordon here. Sandy, been an interesting case here, and I'm fighting a sneeze right now. So if I sneeze, which just happened right there, I apologize for that. Sandy here in his last few appearances has looked a lot closer to himself. Now, he's let up some earned runs, at least one earned run in his last 5 starts. But get this, 7 innings pitched in 4 out of his last 5 starts. And the other one, 6 innings pitched. 4 hits in his last start. So he's allowed a couple of hits, allowed a couple of runs, home runs being kind of the damage dealer here. But I want to read you something that is a total, again, a red flag warning sign for the Rockies here. 8 strikeouts against the Tigers in his last appearance, 4 strikeouts against the Phillies, 6 strikeouts against the Mets, 7 strikeouts against Atlanta, 9 strikeouts against the Cardinals. Sandy Alcantara is putting himself in a position again here where he is looking good. He's looking back to the guy that we know can dominate a game. And what happens if the Rockies can get or face themselves with somebody that can strike them out? They're gonna strike out. So the Rockies are going to have to take care and take advantage of every opportunity possible for them that they get. Again, like I said here, he's allowed at least 4 hits in 4 out of his last 5 starts. He's allowed at least 1 walk in 4 out of the last 5 starts, and he's allowed home runs, at least 1 home run in 4 out of the last 5 starts. So possibilities, opportunities here, but this is a young Rockies team going up against a guy that has stuff that can go up against the best of them. And on the other side, Tanner Gordon, who has been pretty impressive for the Rockies. Again, the numbers aren't the prettiest, but he has been putting the Rockies in good situations. He has had good moments for this team here, including the last time out. 6 innings pitched, only 2 hits, and 9 strikeouts here. We're talking about Gordon having at least 5 strikeouts in 4 out of his last 5 starts, including 2 9-strikeout performances here. Gordon is going to be crucial and clutch in this. The starting pitching is so important for the Rockies here. And it's important for them to not allow themselves to get behind and give the Marlins free opportunities, free passes. The Marlins will take advantage. They don't strike out a lot. They're a team that'll put the ball in play. That's the type of stuff that'll be successful at Coors Field. Now, a little bit of a nugget here as well for Alcantara here. 154 hits in 161 innings worth of work. So hits are possible. If the Rockies can connect, if the Rockies can jump on them here, they'll be looking good. But again, we're looking at a version of Sandy that is in a much better spot as the Marlins continue to be in a real good spot here. And I know I'm hyping up the Marlins a lot. I know I'm talking a lot of positives about the Marlins, and I don't want you to get it wrong here. I'm just talking about this is a team that's 72-80. This is a more respectable, quote unquote, bad team here with a win against the Rockies. If they sweep the Rockies at home, they're going to be 1 game below 500 on the road. This is a team that has outperformed the expectations. Now it's time for the Rockies to do that here over their last 1 game against the Marlins and their last 3 series remaining in the season. Show something, impress, do something that sets the tone and sets the stage, like Moniak is really doing here for the Rockies. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. We'll be breaking down the game and looking ahead to the Angels series coming up tomorrow on the show, so don't miss out on that. And until next time, folks, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.